I think this just serves as a reminder that even the most iconic of recurrent creatures can have a bad day. Classic Doctor Who time. Revenge of the Cybermen. Yeah, you might have noticed I'm trying to knock out some more Fourth Doctor stuff because it's the most that I have left to do. And yeah, I am also trying to burn through the stuff that's not well regarded, which this isn't. And now I know why. So this was from Tom Baker's first season. It was, I think, the first time the Cybermen had come back since the invasion? Second Doctor? Because I don't think there are any Cybermen stories for the Third Doctor. So this is theoretically their big return. Nah, not so much. There's there's a fair bit that doesn't work about this. Ultimately, it's just kind of boring. Like the entire second episode, like nothing meaningful happens. That was like one of the epitome of wheel spinning episodes that I have seen Doctor Who do at all. Like it's strange to me that it's only 4 parts because it felt longer. And I mean that in the bad way. So you have the Doctor and Sarah Jane and Harry showing up on a station. If I followed it correctly, because like they kept the Doctor kept answering in real roundabout ways. I think it's the same station that the Ark in Space was set on. At the very least, it's the same set. I know they were shot basically back to back. So they show up there. They're basically trying to get the TARDIS because this follows on from Genesis of the Daleks. And they find a whole bunch of bodies. Apparently, there has been a plague here, and there aren't very many people left alive. There's basically a handful of people, manning the station, and this one professor who is immediately suspicious and like very clearly, working behind the backs of everybody else. Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who especially, is really bad about like having twist characters like, surprise, I was working for the bad guys the whole time, or even like, surprise, you thought I was on the bad guy's side, but I've been helping you. Either version of that, Doctor Who did it on occasion, but the show's really bad at it. So yeah, we've got that. There's like a handful of okay moments. I guess I kind of like Sarah Jane's camo pants just because of how random that felt. There's a bit where, as somebody who doesn't super like Harry as a character, I did appreciate the Doctor just shouting to the sky, "Harry Sullivan is an imbecile!" I'm like, hey, nice to have somebody agree with me on that. We have the return of the Cybermats as well. They were redesigned for this. They're better here than they were originally, though still kind of laughable. Not as laughable as they were when they first appeared back in the black and white days, but not great. And also, like, you just have to wonder how little thought was put into a lot of this, because like you have these people here. I said like there was a plague. There wasn't really. Cybermats were basically stinging people, and they always go for the neck. So there's always like 2 puncture wounds right here that like these veining out, and everyone decided like, oh, it's a plague, as opposed to it's a poison and there's the injection point. I think they try and cover for that by saying like our medical teams were the first ones to die. I'm like, yeah, but like, even so, nobody's noticing that. I will say it's actually, God, my voice really cracked there. I will say the effect with like the sort of the veins it glows and it pulses. Like, it's actually a pretty cool effect, given what I know Doctor Who's budget was, which was basically a sausage sandwich and a bit of string. I'm actually really curious as to how they did that. So you've got that going on, but then, okay, so this, oh boy. The Cybermen themselves. The more I encounter Cybermen stories, the more I find myself thinking they can be great, but they are tricky to do right. Like, I don't want to act like every Dalek story is good, but you drop the Daleks into almost any story, and they're going to have a unique impact on what goes on just because of the nature of their presence. The Cybermen, the best Cybermen stories are ones that really play into the innate horror of what the Cybermen even are in the first place. So obviously their original appearance on the 10th planet, I would argue Tomb of the Cybermen leans into that. Obviously, the audio drama, Spare Parts, World Enough in Time, like stuff that leans into the horrific nature of what they actually are, tend to be the best stories. If you don't do that, then they basically could be replaced with any villain that just has like is trying to win by force. You know, for all intents and purposes, a fair number of their stories, they could have functionally been replaced with the Sontarans or the Ogrons or just any, you know, here's a big group of them and they're just going to cause destruction kind of creature, kind of monster. And I'm not going to say there's no good stories that come out of that, but I think about the best you get out of that is an Earthshock, which is decent, but also I think a little overrated. But more importantly, ultimately, the fact that it was the Cybermen didn't matter. It could have been somebody else, and nothing about that story would have changed really at all. So, yeah, this suffers from the Cybermen as generic, all-purpose, oncoming enemy thing. The voices suck. Like, I get that they were no longer trying to do the more sing-songy kind of thing that the Cybermen were when they very first showed up, or like the vocoder kind of thing that was like Tomb of the Cybermen. But like, you got to do something to the voices because these are just guys' voices, and they're trying to sound intimidating, and they're not. Like, they figure this out in later stuff. Like when we get the later Cyber Leader. Like they do stuff with his voice. I'm like, there we go. Now we're doing something, but like there's nothing here. What if they're doing anything? It is way too subtle for its own good. They have a cyber leader, but he's not interesting. I don't think it's the guy who would later recurringly play the cyber leader later on down the line, because he was quite good. Whoever they have here is just, you know, he's in a slightly different costume with a bit of black on the top compared to everybody else, but the performance is basically the same. Honestly, a big problem with this is about half the cast feel like they're about to go to sleep. There's a lot of uncommitted performances in this. Not from the main cast. You know, Harry, Sarah Jane, the Doctor, they're about as good as they ever are. Although, God, given that my frustrations with Sarah Jane in the classic era is that she was designed to not be just a damsel, but the stories, especially this first season with the Fourth Doctor, frequently damsel her at the first opportunity. And this, like, first episode, you already have the Doctor and he's being gassed, but you still cliffhanger on Sarah Jane screaming as a Cyberman attacks her. Like, it was so bizarre to be like, oh, you know, here's the Doctor and they're electrifying the floor and they're trying to gas him out. Like, here's our cliffhanger. No, now we go over to Sarah Jane so we can cliffhanger on her screaming. I'm up for crying out loud. So yeah, there's a little bit of that. And there's just all this back and forth, like characters like, oh, we have to go here. Now we have to go back. Oh, we have to see this person. And now this person. Now go back to this person. Oh, there's a disagreement. We got to go back over here. Let's go back there. Like, it's very literal wheel spinning. This has the introduction of a few things. First, and I had to check this because I was like, wait a damn minute. There's this species of the Vogons. Vogons, not Vogons. Vogons are from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They're the ones who do the terrible poetry. So it's not the Vogons, but it's the Vogons. And there's a few things going on with them. The thing that made me go, wait a minute, is that they're in Time Lord outfits, like the style of robe, but more importantly, like the crest with like the spirals and the figure eight kind of thing, the crest of Rassilon, like it's just there. Now I did check this, and apparently this was what that was created for first, and then they decided they liked it so much they reused it when it came time for stuff like The Deadly Assassin and stories set on Gallifrey. And I think there's some there's a novel somewhere that explains in terms of the canon why the Vogons have a Time Lord symbol when they appear to have no connection whatsoever with the Time Lords. This is also the introduction of the idea that the Cybermen are allergic to gold, which is random as hell. It's just a thing that gets introduced here. It sticks around for a little while, but yeah, even just having to hear the Doctor say, and that's how they created the glitter gun to get rid of the Cybermen. I'm like, glitter gun, oh my God. But it's just such a random weakness, and logistically, it doesn't even make a lot of sense. And I don't mean the notion of an allergy to gold, but I mean the very nature of the Cybermen is that survival at all costs. So the idea that they would have an allergy that they wouldn't heavily modify themselves to be able to later just not have to worry about, and it stays as an ongoing concern for ages, it doesn't really fit. Again, you could have replaced the Cybermen with anything if this is the kind of stuff you're going to do. But the other thing about the Vogons is that, oh God, the look of them. I don't show a lot of stills or whatnot, but this is what they look like. And I'm sorry, design-wise, this is very much just racist caricatures of Confucius and stuff like that. This is absurd. And the masks also kind of suck. They're really locked off. They can't emote very well through them. Those who are trying are only getting so much out of it. It contributes to the sense that almost everybody's kind of asleep through this. So that ain't good. And it's a shame because on paper, some of the stuff they're doing is stuff that can keep me interested in a story, like a fracturing of alliances and stuff like that, because you have the humans on the station, and you have the Vogons, and you have the Cybermen, and you have the professor who's the obvious betrayer human character who is basically playing both sides, trying to work with the Vogons and the Cybermen, but he's basically trying to trick the Cybermen into a place where the Vogons will be able to take them out. But even with the Vogons, the guy who's leading that charge to create the weapon to take out the Cybermen is acting against some of the leadership in his own nation, so they're clashing. This kind of fracturing of alliances and stuff can normally be really interesting to me, but it just bounced off me in this. I'm like, oh, okay. And part of it's the half-heartedness of a lot of these performances. Part of it is those freaking masks. And part of it is it just feels like an excuse to stretch the story out for another episode. That feels like why all the characters can't be on the same page, because we gotta stretch this stuff out. And unfortunately, normally the highlight in an episode that's kind of a clunker like this would be, well, at least the Doctor gets some good moments. And a couple here and there. The Harry Sullivan one's the big one. He has one thing where he has a line where he's mocking the Cybermen. That's an okay line. But other than that, this was just kind of nothing. I was going to say I hesitate to call it bad. No, it is bad, but it's not bad in a especially active way. It's bad in an extremely passive way. Everything is just kind of there. It's not doing enough for me to feel comfortable saying it's actively bad, because it's not actively anything. It's just sort of exists. Yeah, I think that's all I've got for this one. So, Revenge of the Cybermen. You seen it? What'd you think about it? Does this thing have any defenders? I've never met one. Whatever your thoughts might be, every story of Doctor Who has at least some defenders. Somebody out there has got to be. But whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, subscribe. They'll help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can come on back next time you need a break. Now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Zubin Lupula, Daphne Matthews, Kay Johnston, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casper, Dave Hall, Snark Shark, Oliver B, Mystic Shadow, Stephen Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Magdalena, Melissa Pedersen, Becky Sparks, Twilord, Tracy Scrabbit, Claire Wright, Pal Baraba Joggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. Additionally, I'd like to thank from the lower tiers of support, John Dent, Erez87, and Quark 12,000. But you guys might like to see Archie this month. Everybody loves you. How could you not love